The sea is endless, stretching far beyond the horizon, a mirror of sky and mystery. Each wave whispers a secret, soft and timeless, carrying echoes of stories long ago. Legends say Poseidon, lord of the deep, still walks among the tides, unseen but present. His trident does not strike in fury here, but rests in calm, blessing the waters with grace. The fishermen wake before dawn, guided not by maps, but by the pulse of the ocean. They feel a rhythm beneath the waves, a song that beats like a heart, steady and kind. Children laugh at the edge of the shore, their toes kissed by the foam of ancient power. Every drop of water holds memory, of storms survived, of journeys begun, of life renewed. The sea is not only vast, but giving, offering food, guidance, and peace to those who listen. And in quiet moments, when the moon lays silver across the waves, the truth feels near. Poseidon does not roar in anger, but hums in blessing, a melody woven into every tide. This is where our story begins, in the embrace of waters both eternal and alive. The village wakes with the dawn, where the sky blushes soft pink and the horizon shimmers gold. The sea greets them with a voice both ancient and tender, a whisper curled inside each wave. It is not loud, not fierce, but steady, as if speaking only to those willing to pause and listen. Fishermen step onto the sand, nets slung across shoulders, their hearts beating with quiet hope. They hear the tide like a hymn, words carried in foam, notes rising with the gulls above. No one can explain the language of water, yet each person feels it settle deep inside. An old woman fills her jug at the shore, and she swears the sea tells her stories of her youth. A child dips his toes, laughing as the surf rushes forward, whispering secrets into his skin. The tide is gentle, almost playful, like a friend who has always known your name. Some say it is Poseidon himself, breathing through the currents, weaving blessing into motion. The waves carry shells and driftwood, gifts scattered like tokens of an unseen hand. At dusk, the whispers soften, becoming a lullaby for the weary, a promise of tomorrow's return. The villagers never fear the water, for its rhythm is constant, its song forever unbroken. When storms rise, they bow their heads, knowing even fury is part of the ocean's tale. But in calm, the sea is generous, and its whispers remind them they are never alone. A boy listens at night, his ear pressed to a conch shell, and hears the same voice within. He tells his mother it sounds like 1,000 gentle breaths, as if the sea itself dreams. The mother smiles, for she too has heard it, though she never spoke of it aloud. For generations, the villagers have passed on this truth. The tide is alive with words, not words of warning or command, but of comfort, like a hand guiding in darkness. When a boat drifts too far, the sea's voice grows louder, steering the sailors back to shore. No compass is stronger than the tide's whisper, no star more faithful than its sound. One evening, a stranger visits the village and asks why no one fears being lost at sea. The elder answers with a smile, pointing to the horizon where waves meet the fading sun. The tide whispers, he says, and those who listen will always find their way home. The stranger scoffs, but later he walks alone by the water, and he hears it for himself. It is faint at first, a soft murmur, like wind across stone, but it grows clearer with time. He closes his eyes and feels peace, as if the sea knows his name and calls him gently. He returns to the village changed, humbled, and grateful for what he cannot explain. The whisper of the tide becomes his anchor, a melody he carries wherever he wanders. The villagers understand, for each of them has felt that same invisible bond, the sea does not speak in human tongue, but in something deeper, older, universal. It is the voice of Poseidon, not in anger, but in blessing, flowing with every tide. And as the night falls, stars reflecting like lanterns upon the water, the whisper continues. It tells of journeys not yet taken, of safe returns, of love woven into every wave. The people fall asleep to its song, their dreams filled with the gentle promise of the sea. The tide whispers still, eternal, unbroken, a voice of blessing from the heart of the deep. Before the first light touches the horizon, the fisherman rises, steady and quiet in the dim dawn. His boat waits on the sand, worn smooth by years, its wood darkened by salt and memory. The air is cool, carrying the scent of brine, a reminder of the bond between man and sea. He steps into the tide, his feet kissed by water that feels alive, pulsing with unseen rhythm. The whisper of the waves greets him like an old friend, soft yet certain in its welcome. He pushes the boat forward, feeling the current guide him as though invisible hands assist. The oars cut gently through the surface, and the sea responds with calm, steady embrace. For years he has trusted this partnership, never taking more than needed, never demanding excess. His father taught him that the sea listens, and Poseidon blesses those who honor balance. This morning is no different. Yet something in the silence feels deeper, like a secret waiting. He casts his net, not hurried but patient, letting it sink where the tide has directed. Moments pass, the boat rocking softly, until the net grows heavy with the ocean's gift. He pulls slowly, careful not to disturb the rhythm, and finds his net filled with silver fish. Not too many, not too few, just enough to feed his family and share with neighbors. The fisherman smiles, for he knows this is no accident, but a blessing measured with care. The village depends on these waters, yet none feel ownership, only gratitude for what is given. At times others envy distant towns with larger halls, but this fisherman never does. He believes fortune is not counted in weight, but in the fairness of the sea's hand. As he rows back, dolphins leap nearby, their joy reflecting the harmony of the morning. He takes it as another sign, for dolphins have always been messengers of Poseidon's will. Back on shore, children run to meet him, eyes wide at the silver gleam in his nets. He laughs, telling them the sea always provides when patience is kept and respect is shown. An elder nods quietly, hearing wisdom in his words, knowing it echoes generations past. The fisherman shares part of his catch with a widow, whose smile carries thanks unspoken. He keeps enough for his own table, never more, trusting tomorrow will bring its own gift. That night, under a blanket of stars, he listens to the waves lapping steady on the shore. The sound is not only water against stone, but a song, an eternal promise of renewal. He feels the blessing of Poseidon not as wealth, but as balance, a harmony of give and take. The sea is not a treasure chest to be emptied, but a companion that offers what is right. His fortune lies not in riches, but in the steady rhythm of tides that never betray him. The villagers understand this truth, for they too live by the sea's patient generosity. They honor Poseidon not with fear, but with gratitude, knowing each tide carries his gift. The fisherman closes his eyes and hears the whisper again, soft as breath, kind as hope. It reminds him that the greatest fortune is not what fills the nets, but what fills the heart. In the quiet night, with moonlight silvering the waves, he feels the deep peace of belonging. The sea has chosen him, not for greed or glory, but for trust, and that is his true fortune. As dawn waits just beyond the horizon, he knows tomorrow's blessing will come again. And always, it will be enough. For Poseidon's waters never fail those who listen. At the edge of the village, where the cliffs meet the sea, a spring trickles from the stone. Its water is clear as glass, shining like liquid light, carrying the scent of salt and earth. The villagers say the spring was born from Poseidon's touch, a blessing hidden in plain sight. It flows day and night, never drying, never faltering, always fresh, always pure. Travelers who pass through the village often stop here, drawn by stories whispered in awe. They cup the water in their hands and feel a calm spread through their weary bones. Mothers bring their children to sip from the spring, believing it will guard their health. Elders dip cloths into its flow, pressing the cool water against tired eyes and aching limbs. The spring is not magic in spectacle, but quiet like a gentle hand resting on the soul. Some say the water carries the sea's memory, its healing woven by the god of tides. A young woman once came with a heart heavy from sorrow, her spirit dimmed by grief. She sat by the spring for hours, listening to its soft song as it fell against the rocks. When she finally drank, she felt no miracle at once, only a deep quiet in her chest. But days later, she realized her tears no longer stung, and her laughter returned like sunlight. Another tale tells of a sailor, broken by years of wandering, who stumbled upon the spring. He drank deeply, and though his body still bore scars, his heart felt light and new. The villagers welcomed him, saying Poseidon's water heals not only flesh, but spirit. Children laugh as they splash in the shallow pool where the spring meets the sand. They say the water tickles, like a friend whispering secrets through ripples and foam. Each year, during the Festival of Waves, the people gather to honor the spring. They decorate its edge with flowers, shells, and lanterns, offering thanks for its gift. Songs rise into the night, carrying gratitude like sails filled with gentle wind. The spring glows in lantern light, its surface sparkling like stars scattered across water. Those who drink it this time believe they receive Poseidon's special blessing of renewal. The fisherman comes too, filling a small jar, keeping it in his home for moments of need. He never uses it carelessly, but only when the weight of life feels too heavy to bear. The water seems to remind him that balance is always possible, that peace can return. Even strangers leave offerings, touched by the sense of comfort that lingers here. They may not know the god's name, but they feel the blessing, unspoken yet undeniable. Some say the spring hums softly at night, a voice woven into the sound of falling drops. If you listen closely, you might hear Poseidon himself, singing low beneath the water. His song is not of storms, but of gentleness, like tides lapping shore under silver moonlight. The villagers never fear the loss of the spring, for they believe it is eternal as the sea. They teach their children to honor it, not as treasure, but as a reminder of kindness. For every sip is a gift, not to be taken for granted, but cherished with gratitude. As dawn breaks, mist rises from the spring, curling into the air like breath of the ocean. It settles over the village, soft and cool, wrapping the people in quiet blessing. The healing is not always seen, but always felt, like warmth deep beneath the skin. And so the spring flows on, a steady hymn of water, carrying Poseidon's peace to all. The villagers sleep each night comforted, knowing the spring will greet them tomorrow. Its song, like the tide, is eternal, and its gift, like the sea, never truly ends. The open sea stretches wide, endless and deep, where the horizon blurs between sky and water. A sailor stands at the bow, eyes searching the stars, heart steady in the rhythm of waves. He carries no compass of iron, no maps etched with ink, only trust in the ocean's song. From his youth, he was taught that Poseidon guides those who listen with patience and faith. Some say the sea is dangerous, filled with storms and shadows, but he sees it as a guide. When the nights grow dark and clouds hide the heavens, he waits for the water to speak. One evening, adrift beneath a black sky, no stars shone, and fear touched the crew's hearts. The sailor closed his eyes, pressing his hand to the rail, and listened for the sea's voice. The waves lapped slow, steady, almost like breath, whispering a path unseen to human sight. He told the crew to hold course, though doubt filled their faces, for trust is not always easy. Hours passed, the darkness heavy, until faint light rippled on the water's surface. Not the moon, not lanterns, but shimmering stars reflected where no sky could be seen. The men gasped, for the sea itself had become a map, guiding them through the black night. The sailor smiled, knowing Poseidon's blessing had taken shape in silver glimmers on waves. They followed the trail of light until dawn broke, revealing land safe and welcoming. The crew gave thanks, bowing their heads, whispering prayers to the god of the deep. From that day forward, they never doubted the sailor, for he carried Poseidon's compass. It was not carved from metal or wood, but woven from trust in the ocean's eternal rhythm. In every voyage that followed, when storms closed in, the sailor listened more than he looked. He heard guidance in the crash of waves, direction in the pull of currents beneath the hull. The sea was no longer obstacle, but teacher, pointing the way with gentle persistence. Other captains mocked him, boasting of charts and instruments, proud of their clever tools. Yet when their ships ran aground, they came seeking him, asking for wisdom they once scorned. He told them gently, "The ocean will show you the way, if only you learn to be still." Some left unconvinced, but others lingered, and in time they too heard the sea's whisper. Legends spread of the sailor whose compass was not seen, but felt, born of Poseidon's grace. Villagers spoke of him at firesides, telling how he could sail blindfolded and never be lost. Children played on the beach, pretending to hold his compass, guiding toy boats in the tide. The sailor never claimed glory, for he knew the gift was not his alone, but shared with all. He believed Poseidon's compass lived in every heart willing to listen with humility. On quiet nights, he would sit by the shore, watching the stars ripple across the water. The reflection shimmered like a promise, reminding him that guidance is always near. He whispered thanks into the wind, trusting the sea to carry his gratitude to the god. When his final voyage came, the villagers watched his ship fade beyond the horizon. Some wept, others prayed, but all believed the compass would guide him to safe harbors. For even in the unknown, the sailor's faith was stronger than fear, anchored in trust. And though his boat was never seen again, the tide brought whispers of his safe arrival. The sea had kept him, not as a loss, but as a son who found home beyond the horizon. His compass, unseen, still lingers in the waves, a blessing for those who choose to listen. Even today, sailors tell of stars glimmering suddenly, showing paths in the darkest nights. They call it the sailor's compass, but they know it is Poseidon's gift, eternal as the tide. The morning sun paints the sea with gold, and the village stirs awake to the sound of waves. Children run along the shore, laughing as they chase the foam that curls around their feet. Suddenly, a splash rises beyond the shallows, and sleek shapes cut gracefully through the water. Dolphins leap into the air, their silver bodies shining in the early light, joyous and free. The villagers stop to watch, for they believe these creatures are Poseidon's messengers of peace. Each movement feels like a dance, choreographed by the rhythm of the tide and the wind. The dolphins click and sing, their voices carrying a melody older than the memory of men. It is not random, not noise, but a song that settles into hearts with warmth and wonder. The fisherman smiles, saying the sea is blessing them, promising safety and abundance today. The dolphins circle the boats, playful yet deliberate, guiding them gently toward good waters. No compass could lead more faithfully than these guardians of the deep, trusted without doubt. Sailors tell stories of storms parted by their songs, as if the sea itself obeys their call. Their presence brings courage to those who sail far, for they embody harmony with the waves. A young girl listens closely, claiming she can hear words hidden in the dolphin's song. She insists the voices are not just sounds, but promises of kindness woven into water. Her grandmother nods, for she too heard the same when she was a child by the shore. The song speaks of joy, of balance, of respect for the gifts the sea endlessly provides. Each leap above the surface feels like laughter, a celebration of life's simple abundance. Fishermen cast their nets lightly, never greedy, trusting the dolphins will guide the catch. The creatures never disappoint, leading them toward shoals shimmering beneath the blue. The village thrives not from force, but from harmony, a bond with dolphins, unbroken by time. During the Festival of Waves, lanterns float on the sea while the dolphins dance nearby. Children cheer as the animals leap among glowing lights, like stars come down to swim. Songs rise from the villagers, blending with the dolphins' voices in a chorus of gratitude. It is said that Poseidon smiles during these nights, hearing harmony between man and sea. Travelers speak in awe of such sights, claiming no land holds such joy upon its waters. One sailor recalls a night when his ship drifted lost, far from familiar stars or shores. Just as despair closed in, dolphins appeared, singing loud above the crash of waves. He followed them through darkness, until dawn revealed safe harbor beyond the cliffs. Since then, he carries a carved dolphin charm, a reminder of salvation from the sea. In the village, mothers tell children that dolphins are guardians who bless their dreams. They say their songs travel even through sleep, carrying peace into the heart of night. And indeed, the children sleep soundly, their breaths rising and falling like gentle tides. No fear lingers, for the song of the dolphins is a shield stronger than walls or weapons. The creatures need no reward, for their joy lies in freedom, in the endless dance of waves. They are Poseidon's laughter, embodied in flesh and water, eternal as the ocean's breath. When the sun sinks low and paints the sea with fire, the dolphins still remain nearby. Their voices echo across the bay, sweet and clear, reminding all of blessings unseen. The villagers close their eyes, listening, and feel their burdens lift like sails in the wind. They know the song is not just for ears, but for souls, stitching peace into every heart. And as stars scatter across the sky, the dolphin's melody lingers, endless as the tide. It carries the promise of Poseidon himself, that joy will always return with the waves. The coast is rocky, jagged like teeth, where many ships once feared to sail after nightfall. Winds howl through the cliffs, and the sea roars below, a song of warning in the darkness. Long ago, sailors whispered of lights that flickered here, vanishing like ghosts on the tide. But one night, a villager dreamed of Poseidon, his trident shining brighter than the stars. The god spoke of a flame that would never fade, a beacon to guide all who wandered lost. When the man awoke, he gathered his neighbors and told them the dream was a gift of fate. Together, they climbed the cliffs, carrying stones, wood, and hope heavy on their shoulders. They built a tower tall enough to kiss the sky, where the fire could be seen from far seas. At its peak, they lit the first flame, a blaze golden and steady against the wild night winds. The villagers gasped, for the fire did not waver, no matter how hard the storm clouds pressed. Sailors at sea lifted their heads, seeing the flame pierce the fog, steady as a star reborn. They steered their ships with renewed courage, whispering thanks to Poseidon for mercy. The lighthouse became more than stone and fire. It was a promise carved into the night. Fishermen returned safely, even in storms, guided by the faithful flame on the cliff's edge. Soon, stories spread of the miracle fire, a beacon blessed by the Lord of the Deep himself. Some said dolphins swam near its base, singing songs that kept the fire from dimming. Others swore the flame was fed by the sea, never needing oil or hands to keep it alive. Whether true or myth, no one doubted the flame was a blessing, not a trick of man alone. Each evening, children gathered to watch the fire, eyes wide as it blazed against twilight. They believed the flame held the voices of ancestors, guiding the living across the waves. Travelers from distant lands came ashore, telling how the flames saved them from despair. One captain wept as he told his tale, how the beacon shone when his crew had lost hope. The villagers welcomed him, reminding him the light belonged to all, not just one. Years passed, and the lighthouse became the heart of the shore, its glow steady and true. When storms raged fiercest, people huddled by the tower, feeling safe in its warm glow. The keeper of the flame was never chosen by wealth or power, but by kindness of heart. For only one who honored the sea with love could tend the fire without fear or pride. Generations of keepers passed, each one guarding the flame as both duty and prayer. They did not call themselves masters, but stewards of Poseidon's eternal blessing. At night, the keeper walked the tower's spiral steps, hearing whispers within the flame. Sometimes the whispers sounded like waves, other times like gentle voices of gratitude. He believed Poseidon spoke through the fire, reminding him to guide without judgment. The sea itself seemed calmer near the lighthouse, its fury softened by the fire's glow. Even the gulls circled it with gentleness, as though they too respected its sacred place. On festival nights, the villagers lit lanterns and placed them on the sea below the tower. The waves carried the lanterns outward, tiny reflections of the great flame above. Together they shone like constellations fallen into the sea, bright against the dark water. And always, the lighthouse stood tallest, its fire singing above all other lights. The people believed that as long as the flame burned, the village would never know despair. And so, through wind, rain, and countless tides, the lighthouse remained their guiding star. Even today, when travelers pass the coast, they see the flame and know they are safe. They whisper prayers into the wind, thanking Poseidon for a gift of light eternal. The lighthouse is not just stone, not just fire, but the sea's promise never to abandon. It is the guiding flame of Poseidon, burning forever at the edge of water and sky. Beneath the surface of the bay lies a secret, hidden in coral gardens where light bends like glass. The villagers speak of it only in whispers, calling it the Pearl of Tides, a gift of Poseidon. They say it was not carved by hands, but formed by the sea itself, pure as moonlight on water. Its glow is soft, never harsh, shining like dawn caught inside a single drop of dew. Legends tell it rests in the heart of a great oyster, guarded by currents and silence, Many divers once sought it, but none returned with proof, only stories of visions below. Some swore they saw dolphins circling the treasure, keeping it safe from greedy hands. Others claimed the water thickened near it, like liquid crystal, impossible to swim through. The villagers, however, did not see it as something to take, but something to honor. For they believed the pearl held the balance of the tides, keeping sea and shore in harmony. Without it, storms would rise without end, and the sea would no longer know gentleness. So each year, on the calmest night, the villagers gathered at the shore to sing. They sang not to claim the pearl, but to thank Poseidon for guarding it in the depths. Children floated lanterns on the waves, watching them drift as offerings of light. The sea always answered with calm waters, as if acknowledging the songs with peace. One night, a boy curious beyond measure swam farther than the rest, chasing a shimmer. Beneath the surface, he glimpsed a soft glow pulsing deep within the coral. He felt no fear, only wonder, as though the sea itself invited him closer. But before he could reach it, a dolphin appeared, circling him gently, urging him back. The boy returned, breathless, telling of the pearl's light and the dolphin's guidance. The elders nodded, saying Poseidon allows only glimpses, never possession. For the pearl is not a treasure to own, but a reminder of trust between man and sea. As years passed, the boy grew into a sailor, always carrying the memory of that glow. When storms rose and fear pressed heavy, he recalled the pearl and felt calm return. He believed the sea carried its light to him, though hidden far beneath the waves. The villagers noticed the same calm in his presence, steady as a tide that never falters. They began to call him Keeper of the Pearl, though he had never touched it. His strength was not from possession, but from respect for what was never his. Travelers asked if the pearl was real, and he answered with a smile. As real as the tide. For reality, he said, is not only what can be held, but also what can be felt. The villagers agreed, teaching their children not to seek the pearl, but to honor it. It became a symbol of humility, of knowing that some blessings are meant to remain unseen. The pearl of tides still glows in whispers, unseen yet eternal, beneath the shifting waves. On quiet nights, when the moon is high, its light flickers faintly on the water's skin. Those who see it do not dive, but bow their heads, whispering thanks to Poseidon. For they know the pearl is safe, not in their hands, but in the heart of the sea. And so the balance holds. The tides rise and fall, steady as breath, endless as time. The pearl of tides is not a prize, but a promise that the sea will always remember peace. Far beyond the familiar coast lies an island veiled in mist, hidden from unworthy eyes. Sailors speak of it with reverence, calling it the island of eternal springs, a paradise of Poseidon. They say its shores are not like others, but woven with streams that never run dry. Clear water tumbles from the cliffs, singing like glass bells into pools of silver. The streams taste sweet, neither salt nor earth, but something purer than both. Those who drink from them feel youth return, not to body alone, but to spirit as well. Tired sailors claim their weariness lifts, like heavy cloaks falling from their shoulders. Old fishermen say their eyes grow clear again, able to see stars as they once did. The island is not marked on maps, for it reveals itself only to hearts free of greed. Some who searched in hunger for treasure never found more than endless seas. But those who sailed with trust and patience sometimes saw the mist part suddenly. There, green hills rose from the waves, shimmering as though born of sunlight itself. Birds circled in flocks, singing songs that echoed with the rhythm of flowing water. The air smelled of blossoms unknown to other lands, sweet and bright as spring itself. One crew told of a grove where the streams intertwined, forming pools that glowed softly. Each pool held reflections, not of faces, but of memories. Moments of joy, long past. The sailors wept as they drank, for they felt those joys return to their hearts alive. The island, they said, was no prize to be taken, but a gift to remind them of peace. When they left, they carried no gold, only lightness in their souls that never faded. Back home, villagers noticed their laughter, their renewed strength, their softer eyes. It was proof enough that the island was not dream, but Poseidon's blessing revealed. Every spring, songs are sung in the village, thanking the sea for waters of renewal. Not all seek the island, for they know blessings cannot be forced or demanded. The patient know the sea gives freely when the heart is ready, not when desire burns. Stories tell of a young woman who longed to see the island with her father. He was frail with age, his breath shallow, his strength dimming like twilight light. They set sail without charts, guided only by faith, trusting the whispers of the tide. For days they saw nothing but fog and endless waves stretching without mercy. But on the seventh dawn, sunlight broke through, and the island stood before them. Her father drank from the spring and smiled, not younger in body, but glowing with peace. He told her the gift was not to live forever, but to live fully without fear of endings. When they returned, his final days were bright with laughter, free of sorrow or regret. The daughters sang each evening to the waves, grateful for Poseidon's gentle gift. The island faded once more into mist, hidden until another soul would need it. It is not a land to conquer, but a reminder that renewal flows quietly in every tide. The island of eternal springs still drifts in stories, waiting for hearts pure enough to see. And though unseen, its waters flow through memory, blessing all who honor the sea. Far below the waves lies a realm unseen, where sunlight dances in colors the surface has never known. This is the coral garden of harmony, a gift from Poseidon, where life blooms in endless patterns. Here, corals rise like painted towers, glowing in hues of crimson, jade, and gold. Schools of fish weave between them, moving as if guided by a single gentle rhythm. Every creature, from the smallest shrimp to the grand sea turtle, belongs in its place. There is no rivalry here, no hunger that devours, only balance held by ancient design. The currents themselves seem to move in song, carrying food, shelter, and peace. Dolphins leap through arches of coral, while seahorses cling to swaying seaweed like dancers. It is said Poseidon shaped this garden not as treasure, but as a lesson for humankind. Those who dive with respect find a sanctuary of wonder, hearts stilled by beauty alone. Yet those who enter with greed or careless hands feel the sea grow cold and silent. For the garden protects itself, closing its colors, retreating into shadowed silence. One tale tells of a young diver named Callias, who sought pearls for fortune. He broke coral in haste, blind to the cries of the reef, eager for riches. But soon the water darkened, fish fled, and the coral lost its glow. Frightened, he swam upward, yet found only silence where music once sang. Later, he returned, but with open heart, carrying nothing but awe. This time the reef shimmered again, welcoming him like a friend. Callias did not seek pearls thereafter, but brought back stories of beauty instead. He told others that the garden was no mine, but a cathedral of balance. In time, people listened, and they too dove with reverence, learning harmony. It became a place where disputes ended, where voices softened in humility. For how can one argue when surrounded by such fragile, eternal artistry? The garden's greatest gift was not wealth, but the reminder of how all life connects. Each fish depends on coral, each coral on current, each current on the moon above. So too, every heart depends on kindness, every soul on shared peace. The coral garden teaches without words, speaking through color and movement. It tells us that harmony is not stillness, but many lives moving as one. Some who swam there claimed they heard whispers, not in ears, but in their hearts. Voices like tides saying, "Protect, nurture, and you too shall flourish." Children of the sea returned home carrying shells, not as trophies, but as promises. They placed them in their homes, reminders that peace begins with small acts. To this day, when storms calm and seas clear, the garden reveals its light. Divers descend with gentle strokes, carrying respect in every breath. And when they rise again, they carry not coral, but harmony in their souls. The coral garden of harmony waits still, alive in its quiet rhythm. A realm not to be taken, but to be honored. For it is Poseidon's lesson to all: balance, unity, and reverence. These are the treasures more radiant than any pearl. So long as the sea is loved, the garden shall bloom, eternal beneath the waves. Long ago, before charts and compasses, sailors trusted the stars and the voice of the sea. They believed Poseidon watched every voyage, blessing those who honored his waters. In each village by the shore, a rite was kept, known as the mariner's oath. Before a journey began, the crew would gather under moonlight near the tide. They placed offerings of bread, fruit, and shells upon the waves, whispering prayers. The oath was simple, yet sacred: to respect the sea, to protect each other, to sail with honor. Those who took it felt bound not only to Poseidon, but to one another as kin. The oath was spoken with calm voices, carrying across the surf like gentle wind. By the tide that lifts, by the wave that guides, I vow to honor the sea's blessing. Each sailor repeated the words, their hearts steady with shared promise. Elders said the sea could hear truth, and false words sank heavier than stone. Thus, no one dared speak lightly, for the waters would remember every vow. One tale tells of a captain who ignored the oath, rushing to set sail in pride. He scorned the offerings, mocked tradition, and trusted only his own strength. But his crew felt unease, their bond frayed before the wind had filled the sails. The voyage was plagued with mishap. Ropes tangled, food spoiled, stars hid from view. It was not fury of storms, but silence of guidance that weighed upon them. When they returned, humbled and weary, the captain finally bowed to the tide. He swore the oath with trembling voice, and from then on, fortune returned. The mariner's oath was never about fear, but about harmony and trust. It reminded all that the sea was not an enemy, nor a servant, but a living gift. Crews who honored it found strength beyond measure, not in muscle, but in unity. A sailor once said, "When we speak the oath, it is as if the sea sails with us." Generations passed, and still the words are spoken, soft as waves against the shore. Even today, fishermen whisper them before casting nets, carrying tradition in their breath. Children learn the oath before they learn to swim, repeating it with bright eyes. Not all voyages are long, but every crossing is sacred under Poseidon's watch. The mariner's oath is more than ritual. It is the heartbeat of seafaring life. For when men and women stand by the water, vowing together, they are never alone. Their voices join with the eternal rhythm, echoing in the endless roll of tides. It is said that on quiet nights, one can hear the sea whisper the oath back. Waves murmur promises, reminding all that Poseidon keeps balance with care. A village elder once told her grandson, "The sea is wide, but your vow anchors you." The boy carried those words into every journey, safe beneath starlight. In time, he taught the same to his own children, keeping the chain unbroken. For as long as the mariner's oath is spoken, Poseidon's blessing shall endure. It binds sailor to sea, crew to crew, heart to heart, across endless horizons. And so, each voyage begins not with wind, but with words, steady as the tide. The oath continues, eternal as the waters, guiding mariners through every storm and calm. The sea has always been more than waves and salt, more than storms and silence. It is a mirror of life itself, vast, unpredictable, yet endlessly generous. Through every story told, Poseidon's waters shine as both guide and gift. They teach us that strength lies not in conquest, but in respect and balance. From the fisherman's fortune to the healing spring, blessings flow quietly. From dolphin songs to coral gardens, harmony is revealed beneath the tide. From the mariner's oath to eternal springs, wisdom is passed across generations. Each tale whispers that the sea is not to be feared, but to be honored. It holds lessons in every ripple, patience in every tide, wonder in every wave. Those who listen walk lighter, knowing they are part of something eternal. For Poseidon does not demand temples of stone, but reverence in daily acts. A kind word, a shared meal, a vow spoken by the water, all are offerings. In return, the sea grants calm hearts, steady journeys, and moments of awe. Its blessings do not always appear as miracles, but as quiet guidance. A safe harbor found at dusk, a sudden wind when sails hung lifeless, a song carried by dolphins, or laughter renewed by fresh springs. These are the gifts that endure long after gold and jewels fade. For no treasure shines brighter than peace, no gem gleams deeper than unity. The waters remind us that all life is connected as currents bind the sea. Every drop flows into another, every tide shapes both shore and soul. And just as the sea renews itself, so too can hearts find renewal. In the end, Poseidon's blessing is not only for sailors or villages. It is for all who honor the balance, who live with respect and wonder. As long as waves continue to kiss the shore, his voice will be near. Sometimes in thunder, sometimes in calm, sometimes in the hush of dawn. Listen closely, and you may hear it. The eternal rhythm, the gentle vow. A promise that the sea, vast and unending, carries memory and mercy. It carries the laughter of children, the prayers of sailors, the songs of dolphins. It carries the light of the sun, the pull of the moon, the breath of the earth. Poseidon's waters bless all who walk gently, who sail with open hearts. And though tales end, the sea does not, for it flows beyond time itself. So when you stand by the shore, close your eyes and breathe the salt air. Let the rhythm of the waves remind you of the stories carried here. Stories of harmony, healing, courage, and peace, bound by God's gift. And know that you too are part of this vast tapestry of tide and life. The blessings of Poseidon's waters are not bound to legend, but alive today. Alive in every drop, every tide, every whispered prayer beneath the stars. They wait not in temples, but in the heart, ready for those who honor them. And so, as the waves roll on, the stories continue, eternal as the sea.